So every Tuesday, we've just been doing these little devotionals to just kind of process some things and think through stuff. And like we've said, these aren't a replacement for a weekly lesson or teaching. They're not a deep dive into different scriptures. These devotionals are just more focused on just some things to think about and consider through the week, just some stuff to maybe prime some thinking. And I just wanted to take today to talk a little bit about what I've been processing in my own time. And as a ministry leader, I found it an interesting balance of trying to keep on doing the work of my job, keep running a ministry, keep furthering the work of being with students and meeting with students in different ways, yet still being a person who's frustrated by what's going on. And as I've been frustrated by some things, I think what I've realized is this month has made me painfully aware of how much I depend on programming to do the work of discipleship. And we don't have youth group or regular meetings with each other. And as a result, I felt just kind of a little off, a little bit out of place. And I'm not really sure how you guys would describe what you've kind of been feeling or what you would call that. But for me, I've in some ways felt guilty that my ability to live out God's command to disciple and to pour into other people is dependent on a weekly scheduled activity, the structure of church things. And that's not to say programs are bad or wrong and that we shouldn't be doing them. But when I think about my ability to disciple and our church's ability to disciple, if that comes to a grinding halt because we're no longer allowed to have a thing like youth group or meet in groups, then that causes me to think and reflect on how I have the ability to disciple people. How can my life be rooted in principles of discipleship, of pouring into others, not because it's my job or responsibility, but instead because it's my joy to walk alongside others in faith. And like I said, these programs aren't necessarily wrong, but if I can't disciple without them, I've got some growing to do, and I need to evaluate kind of what my faith is built on. Is it built on participation, or is it built on a love for God and a burning passion to live out his commands, to live out his purpose for his kingdom? In Matthew 22, it says, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment. And a second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depend all the law and the prophets." And my eyes go right to the end there, that this is the foundation of all the commandments. I don't really know what the next few months look like, but I am becoming increasingly more confident that we can learn some things about what it means to truly disciple each other. A way of living that isn't dependent on a calendar activity, but instead is something that is ingrained in who we are. We can learn things about discipleship that programming can't really teach us. We don't have a structure right now. It seems like we're kind of scrambling to have some sort of foundation. We do a few hours of work in the day and then an activity, or we try and make something work, and that's good and that's okay. Some purpose and productivity is good. But in this time, if we're going to disciple each other well, it's going to be because we care about others enough to take action. It's going to be rooted in a deep love of God and each other. But it will happen when we, trusting in the Holy Spirit, take the responsibility to reach out and take action. Now, I don't really know what that looks like or what it means or where we kind of go from here. But there are some things we can start to ask. Number one, who can I support and care for during this time? Number two, how can I reach out? What does that look like? Do I just send a text message? Do I try and organize a video call with people? Do something. And then what do you do with that? Do we take on the responsibility to say, hey, I want to study this book of the Bible for a couple weeks? Or just talk about some questions I've been thinking through? In this time, we have a unique opportunity to grow at a rapid rate in our ability to disciple each other. But again, that only comes out of our love for God and care for each other. And so just throughout this week, be reflecting on what your responsibility is. What part do you play in discipleship? And reflect on how you can share that with others and be a discipler of others during these next couple months. Thanks.